Hello and welcome to our webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us. Our topic today is From Action to Awareness, Empowering Students to Create Safer Schools. Really quick before we dive into the webinar, if you can't hear us, if you're having audio issues, go ahead and check your device's settings. Know that we do have audio off for all participants, but if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. Or if Mallory or I happens to know the answer, we will answer those in the chat. My name is Natalie. I'm on the education team here at Banzai, and I'm so happy to be co-hosting today with Blair Freedman. Blair is the Senior Director of Business Development and Educational Partnership for Sandy Hook Promise. In her role, she supports the growth strategy in K-12 districts across the central region by securing new business opportunities that encompass the full line of upstream violence prevention solutions offered by Sandy Hook Promise. Blair holds a master's degree in social work and a minor in business administration from Columbia University. Her career has been in the nonprofit sector, fulfilling a personal and professional passion for youth services and programming. Joining Sandy Hook Promise early in its infancy in 2016, Blair has been able to witness and contribute to the company's rapid growth and impact across the country. And Blair, we are so happy to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us and sharing all about these incredible programs with our amazing teachers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Natalie and the Bonsai team. I am really happy to be here today and really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all and share more about the really important work that we are doing at Sandy Hook Promise, and also give some opportunities on how you all at your individual schools and campuses can participate. Natalie, can you just confirm that you all can see my screen? Oh, now, can somebody confirm if you can see my screen okay?
Now we can see you. You're good.
All
There we
right,
go.
there we go.
Sorry about that.
Thanks. Always something. Again, thank you all. As Natalie said, my name is Blair Freedman, and I work with our educational partnerships across the US for Sandy Hook Promise. And I want to start off by just sharing a little bit about who we are and the work that we do. Sandy Hook Promise, we are a national nonprofit organization. We were founded by some of the family members who lost loved ones at the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy several years ago. And really, what our founders did was they wanted to make sure that no family member or parent ever had to go through the loss that they went through. And they wanted to make sure that they put forward a solution to do so. And that's where they came up with the mission to educate and empower youth and adults to prevent violence in schools, homes, and communities. What they learned from that tragedy was that, unfortunately, there are almost always warning signs when somebody is at risk of hurting themselves or others, but that as a general public, there just weren't the national resources or campaign to make sure that everyone knew what those warning signs are. And that's when they said they're going to be the organization to do that and to make sure that cost is never a barrier and that everyone has the resources and tools to prevent a tragedy from taking place. So that's exactly what we do. We teach youth and adults the warning signs of potential violence and how to get help. We research how to create more inclusive, supportive schools and cultures. We actually also have a policy team that helps pass bipartisan legislation as well to provide these programs in more schools and districts. And again, we are focused really on this idea of upstream violence prevention, which I'll go into the different programs that we offer. But before I do that, I always like to start by just having you all as educators and realizing that you all may come from different roles. Maybe you're in a building, you might have kind of a different audience or grade levels that you work with. But I put some questions on here just for you to think about independently for a few minutes. Thinking about what challenges maybe your district, your school, your teams are facing as it relates to school violence, safety. Are there any violence prevention practices that are proving to be effective in your district or school? What gaps do you see in your violence prevention practices? What gaps do you maybe see in your emotional safety practices? So while you take a little bit to kind of think about this so that again, when I'm sharing these resources, you can kind of think a little bit about where they may fit, if they do fit. As you're thinking about that and letting those questions kind of marinate, I also like to make a connection to this work because, whether you are in education, whether you're working with students directly, the goals of education are to make sure that there are successful academic outcomes, right? But there's so much more than that. You know that you want to keep your students safe. All of the great resources that Banzai does and shares, they're all so that we can all be more successful. Our students can be successful. We can have the tools that we need. But if students don't feel safe where they are, if they don't feel welcome, they don't feel like they belong, it is so hard for all of those other things to happen, for them to stick, for them to utilize those resources and opportunities available to them. So this is truly something that at the very start, if we can ensure that everyone has these strategies, we can make sure that our students are successful in every single way that's available to them. So how we educate and empower our students, we are able to do that. I want to share some solutions, for your district again, and I want you to know that all of these that I'm going to share about today, they are at no cost to schools and districts. These are tier 1 universal programs that really support the strengthening of school climate, of student and adult relationships, trusted adult relationships, and also overall school safety. They're evidence informed. They align with different social emotional learning standards. They support positive school culture. And they also focus a lot on youth leadership and how to empower that youth voice. And that's something that we're going to talk about today. They also follow a program methodology. So we are all about prevention, but we also offer tools for preparedness as well. We are focused on changing the knowledge, the skills, and the skill transfer because we really liken ourselves to this idea of, think about several years ago, the designated driver movement. You don't have to show up to a party where people are having alcoholic beverages and have a 3-ring binder that says, okay, if somebody's drinking, then they shouldn't drive. Or if I'm drinking, then I shouldn't drive. It's just intuitive at this point, right? So you've gotten that education and when you go to a party and somebody is drinking, you need to have a designated driver so that everyone is safe. That is what we are trying to do. We're trying to truly create a movement that takes making sure people have the knowledge and the skills and the attitudes so that one day, hopefully very soon in our future, when somebody sees a warning sign and gets that feeling that something isn't right, or somebody sees somebody that isn't included and they're always by themselves, that it'll just become second nature to have tools and strategies to include that person or to tell a trusted adult when something doesn't feel right. So as I share these programs, I want you to kind of understand that cultural movement, that these things don't happen overnight, but if we can change these knowledge, skills, and attitudes, we're going to get a lot closer to it. So the first program that I want to share with you is our Start with Hello program. This is a K through 12 program, and it is teaching students and youth how to minimize social isolation, how to empathize with others, and really how to create a more inclusive and connected school culture. We do a lot of things in 3 here, and so we have a framework, and we have our 3 simple steps, which are to see someone alone, to reach out and help, and to start with hello. And so when we think about seeing someone alone, we want our students to understand, what are those warning signs of somebody that might be socially isolated, that might be lonely, that might not be connected. And then you're really activating that empathy in our students by understanding what that looks like, but then you're giving them the tools to reach out and help. So whether it is a small thing that they can do, a small action or a big action, which I'll talk more about, it's important that they understand why they need to reach out. And we give that background too, right? That somebody is chronically socially isolated. There can be some really not good things that can come from that, right? They can have anxiety. It can cause physical illness, low self-esteem, depression, and as I mentioned, low academic performance. And so social isolation is real, and we can really do these first steps to prevent somebody from going down that path. So to reach out and help and to start with hello. And by starting with hello, we know that not everybody feels really comfortable in doing that, right? Even as adults, it can be really hard to go up to somebody who isn't necessarily part of the group or is, eating lunch by themselves. And so we know that we have to give them super tangible, easy tools to have in their back pocket to do that. And there are things that the students can do themselves, right? That they can, even just acknowledging a head nod or asking them, this or that. Would you rather, be a superhero? Would you rather fly? Giving them simple questions that they can ask to just get the conversation going. And we give them those tools, but then we also give schools the tools that they can use because we know that we're going to need that type of environment. So maybe a school can have a hey day where everyone has a name tag so we know everybody's name, or human bingo where there's questions and all the students have to get to know each other. You could have a no one eats alone day where at the lunch in the cafeteria, you have birthday months. Everybody has a birthday month. So if everybody sits with their birthday month, they're going to have somewhere to sit and they're going to be able to meet new people. So this combination of giving students tools and then the school tools as well can really help. And this can also help with bullying prevention as well, because if we're empathetic and we're kinder to one another, and if we don't feel like if we feel connected, we might not then bully. There's a lot of opportunity, again, to just have a school where everyone feels like they belong. So again, we tell them to see someone alone, to reach out and help, to be an upstander. That's an action and a behavior that's weaved throughout our whole program. And again, to start with hello, even if it's a smile or a like or a love or a heart, whatever they call it on Instagram. And like we say, small actions really can have a big impact. And the opportunity to feel included can really make people feel super good and productive. So just an example of, thinking about what social isolation might look like in the students that you work with every day. Do you see loneliness and social isolation in the students or youth that you work with? Maybe there's a more pressing issue that that is coming up when it comes to social isolation. Maybe there's a certain person or certain group that you're most concerned about. And just thinking a little bit about, if Start with Hello can help your school community achieve some of your goals towards inclusion, either as an individual educator or as a school building or as a whole district. So Start with Hello is really that first program on our upstream violence prevention pathway, because again, if we can make everyone feel included, hopefully they will not go down that path of thinking about harming themselves or others. But if that does happen, we also offer our Say Something program, because this program is really training the students on how to recognize those warning signs and threats, especially on social media, because that is the number one place where these warning signs and threats are found. And so we're looking for those warning signs of somebody that might be thinking about hurting themselves or others, and when and how to tell a trusted adult. Both of these are K-12 programs. We have developmentally appropriate trainings and lesson plans and activities per those grade bands. The elementary is more of a digital storybook that again has animated characters that really speak to that age group. So our framework here is recognize warning signs and threats, act immediately and take it seriously, and say something. So when we're recognizing these warning signs, it's not necessarily that there's one thing, right? But maybe there's extremes, or maybe something's really sudden. Maybe somebody has completely changed their appearance, or they're posting a lot of images, or they're joking around and they are talking about threats that they want to make. We, in our step 2, to act immediately and to take it seriously, this is where that upstander behavior comes in, where we need everybody to take it seriously, because you never know. And act immediately by saying something to a trusted adult using an anonymous reporting system. And that is super important, because we tell the students that saying something is different from snitching. Snitching is getting somebody in trouble. Saying something is getting somebody help. But that is a huge differentiator that we know our students need to hear. We also are not asking the students to diagnose the issue. That is not their job. However, they are the eyes and ears of the schools. They are the ones on Instagram that are hearing all of this information. So we just need them to know what to look for when they see it, and to say something when they see it, so that they can take it to a trusted adult who can then move forward with the appropriate measures. So Say Something, again, the reason it exists is because 93%, and this number is increasing, 93% of school shooters, they planned the attack in advance. weird to say that that's good news. I wouldn't say good news, but however, that does give us a runway that if we do know the signs we're looking for, that gives us time to intervene and prevent that from taking place, because we know in almost every documented case of an active shooter, warning signs were shown. We just have to know what those warning signs are. And so these are just a few examples that we share. Like I said, maybe bragging about access to guns or cruelty to animals, warning students to stay away from school. Again, our goal here is we want to make sure that schools continue to be safe, because schools are honestly one of the safest places that you can be. I know that sometimes the news doesn't make it feel that way, but that is a message that we share with our youth as well. School is one of the safest places you can be. But just like our bodies, they might be generally healthy. We're not immune to the common cold, right? And we're not immune to these signs and threats. We just have to do better at building our immunity. So we have trainings for these programs, but we really follow a culture change that through a program cycle. And so that means that we have trainings, but we also have lesson plans and activities to engage with. And this is really where educators have the opportunity to customize their experience. So whether you go through the Start with Hello or the Say Something training that walks through those 3 steps, we have 5 thematic units that may be the right fit for your school or your students at that time. You can grow year to year. Maybe you want to focus on empathy or belonging or youth agency or warning signs. We have all of our lesson plans and activities that are broken up into those thematic units so that you can really customize what that work looks like. And so as you'll see here, this is just an example of a lesson. It tells you what the objectives are, also some different standard alignments if you're working on other things, maybe relationship skills or social awareness or responsible decision making. It'll create that alignment as well. And there will be, different student connectors and main activity and optimistic closure, again, because the training is important so everybody is speaking the same language. However, it's really going to be these lesson plans and continuing to engage in the materials that will bring that framework and make it more relevant. This is just an example of something that I hear a lot is that, well, our students are always, joking about these threats, or, we don't know if it's real or not. And so I always like to just give an example of a sample activity that we have where it's called Signs Everywhere. And it's really talking about how trusted adults and students can work together to tackle a lot of these issues, thinking about what warning signs are most pressing and prevalent in the community, and what role can the students take in dismantling joke culture and the fear of snitching. So this is just, again, an example of what one of our lesson plans look like. Super intuitive. Materials and resources are there. The directions are there. It's something that we want you all to be able to just pick up and be able to do right in the moment, because we know there's not a whole lot of time to always be planning the work that you all have. And so knowing that, thinking about citizenship, right, and how that is such an important concept. And that's something too, right? Thinking about taking care of one another, being there for one another, looking out for our school. These are a lot of the themes and objectives that you'll see throughout our curriculum. So again, just the main activity and optimistic closure. We also have a family engagement piece, because this is so important to take outside of the school, but into families as well. And so we like to connect it back to families to make sure that there are engagement opportunities to really get everyone involved in having conversations about this. I also want to mention a couple expanded programs under our Say Something umbrella. We do have a program that is the core Say Something program, but focused specifically on suicide prevention. So that is a program that is available that is really all about the warning signs and risk factors specific to suicide. I do want to really call out this program, our Trusted Adult program. This is new. We actually had our youth leadership, our youth advisory board. They're the ones that designed this program. And it's super important because what we heard from some of our youth was that, okay, I did it. I was brave. I said something, but maybe that trusted adult didn't respond in the best way, or they didn't feel really reassured, or that it actually did anything. And that's when we created this program to make sure that we create a safe environment where students can approach adults about warning signs and concerns, and that they are responded to in a way that really encourages them. We tell them to listen, respond, reassure, and follow up. And so we have a 25-minute professional development video. I recommend doing this at the beginning of every year. It can be for the bus driver, for the cafeteria workers, every adult in your building, to basically say, hey, we're going to get on the same page about how we're going to talk to students when they share something with us. And it's also a great time to go over any other threat assessment or policies or procedures that you all have about when you do hear something like this. So I love this program. It's gaining a lot of popularity, super easy to use and to share. But again, we know that in order to have a comprehensive solution, we have to have our students trained and our adults as well. And this is just an example of like a participant workbook that you would get through the Being a Trusted Adult workshop. Kind of what that framework is, giving a formula for responding, some follow-up activities where maybe you put a poster on your door that says, I'll be your trusted adult, right? But again, we know that student and adult relationships and having that a trusted adult is a huge protective factor. And so this can really help support that as well. Finally, we also offer anonymous reporting system as well. I like to share this because a lot of times students have told us that they have no one to tell. They don't have a trusted adult. We always want that to be the first thing that they do. But when that's not available to them, or for safety reasons or whatever reasons, a student wants to be anonymous, we have a way for them to report what they are seeing. And the really neat thing about this is that we have a national accredited crisis center, which is really that first line of defense. So if they don't have a trusted adult, we provide one for them. This is these are trained counselors going through hundreds of hours of training. It's not a call center. They're highly educated, highly trained to be able to support them in whatever is going on, have two-way automated chat. And then they end up sharing that information back with your school, back with your district to follow up as appropriate. If it's a life safety or non-life safety issues, there's all these different steps. But again, this is something that we offer to make sure that every student in your buildings have access to a trusted adult if they don't feel one is available to them. And with San Diego Promise and everything that we do, we have partner success managers, we have refresher trainings, we have learning centers that have everything is available to you at no cost. Our trainings, our lesson plans, activities, family activities. So all of that is available through our learning center for you all to use and to see as you see fit. And then the last program that we offer are our Save Promise clubs. And this is super important because it can be an existing club or a new club, but this is where our youth really take ownership in a proactive role in really preventing violence. Our students, they are the best positioned to solve these issues, right? Because as adults, we don't always know really the intricacies of what's going on, or we're not on social media. But when we put the opportunity and the power in our students' hands and empower them in order to come up with solutions, and they will come up with the best solutions for their peers, for their building. And so this is just a way that we do that. If they have a Save Promise Club, it can be called anything you want. It doesn't have to be called a Save Promise Club. But once one is registered, we share all of our materials, all of our professional development at no cost to make sure that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's resources available to you, or you take that and run in any way that works best for your community. We've done a lot of research on our programs over this past several years. A few key points that we have learned is that through our programs, there is an increased willingness to speak up about warning signs, better attitudes about school, significantly fewer aggressive behaviors, and we're seeing stronger relationships between students and teachers. And also with the work that we do in prevention, we often don't know what we're going to prevent. We have probably prevented a lot of things that we will never know about, and that's okay. But luckily with our anonymous reporting system, we have been able to confirm a lot of these impact numbers that I'll draw you to just a few here. We've been able to prevent at least 19 credible planned school shooting attacks. Our latest one was last month in California, where it was a confirmed intervention. We've been able to help at least 5,500 students during mental health crisis interventions. We have over 5,000 Save Promise clubs. So we know that this work is working. And we know that the more people that are involved will only continue to help as many as we can. Which leads me to how you all can get involved should you be interested. So I have an exciting opportunity to share with you just kind of in the month that we're in. So Safe Schools Week is actually coming up already next week. So this is perfect timing. But if you are interested in learning more about what this is about, Safe School Week is a great time to really test the program out. It's really where we work with our Safe Promise clubs to participate, to draw attention of this problem of school violence, right? And to also educate others on how schools can be made safer and more secure. And so if you are interested, you can start a Safe Promise Club. This can be in your community too, right? It doesn't always have to be at the school level. And I have a nice little QR code if you want to learn more about Safe Promise Clubs and how to register. We'll also share that in the chat. Because again, even though you can do this as educators, the students really have the greatest ideas. So it's a wonderful way to partner with them. You can encourage them to organize activities for each day of the week, maybe just one. That's okay. We are super flexible at Sandy Hook Promise in terms of like what our dosage looks like. We want it to be flexible. We want it to be easy. We want it to be effective. And that's going to depend on what works best for you all. And so a few sample ideas, and these are all on our website, just how to kind of kick off the week. Maybe you start with the Start with Hello program, do some morning announcements on those 3 steps. You can go over the Say Something steps. You can talk about, have a selfie station and talk about just school violence in general and goals around preventing it. Talk it up Thursday, teaching the classmates. Maybe that's where you go in and actually train the students. The students can train each other too, which is really cool if you have like feeder schools as well. Again, these are just ideas. Whatever works for your communities, that's what works best for us. So if it's something that you want to get started with, you can do this at any time. You don't have to do it next week, but it's always just nice to have kind of a call to action in a time where you know that others around the country are also rallying around these really important opportunities. So with that, I will leave you with a little bit more about Sandy Hook Promise and how we work with schools and districts. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to me. Like I said in the beginning, we're very intentional about not throwing a program over the wall. However, we also are very understanding that there's different engagement and implementation levels. And so we offer, different webinars, different materials, training, for again, many different audiences. And so if that's something that you're interested in learning more about what a partnership could look like at more of a district level, please reach out to me and I can share more about what that professional development looks like, what more of that partnership looks like. But again, if you just want to log on to our learning center and play around and see what everything looks like, that is totally great too. Just appreciate any opportunity for you all to learn more about the work that we're doing, to partner with you all in these important efforts, and just want to thank all of you for everything that you do for your students each and every day. So with that, I will hand it back to you, Natalie, to see if there's any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's so great to learn about all those programs. And it sounds like they're just really like there's something for everyone, every, level of involvement, however you
Yeah,
want to execute it. It sounds super flexible.
exactly.
Really, we just had a lot of positive reactions to it, and a question about if there would the slides are anywhere so they can refer to them later. But for that, I just said, we're going to be posting this video to our PD site in the next few days, and so you
Okay.
can, teachers can feel free to share that, however they'd like. And then
Yeah,
Valerie did post your email address in
great.
the chat as well for those that have questions. And then just a few more things as we're wrapping up is I wanted to share some of our Banzai digital citizenship resources with y'all. It goes, really well with this whole idea of violence prevention and just making sure students are aware of, navigating the online world and the physical one as well. So for grades 3 to 6, we have a Digital Dragons game. Takes 45 to 90 minutes. We cover privacy, website security, malware and ransomware, cyberbullying, and misinformation. And this is just a really fun interactive game for students. We have our internet safety game. This is for grades 10 through or 5 through 10. It takes a few hours to complete. Covers password strength, fake news, healthy communication, scams, and online shopping. We have our cyberbullying module. This is for grades 5 through 10. It takes about a half an hour to 90 minutes. Just again, students are self-paced, and so sometimes it takes longer than others. Topics that we cover are different types of cyberbullying, social media, methods and online behavior, prevention, and best practices. We have a digital footprint game for grades 6 through 12 that covers private and public information, cookies and IP addresses, tracking online behavior, VPNs, virtual private networks, and more. And then we have digital wellness. This is a really popular game that's really great for any class or implementation for grades 4 through 12. And we cover healthy online practices, physical health, intellectual health, mental health, and social health. We also have free printed workbooks. We have a digital citizenship workbook that you can access in your Banzai account. If you don't have a Banzai account, I'll have a QR code for you here in a moment. You can sign up for one for free. You can either download the PDF from the teacher toolkit, or if you have a local sponsor, you can request printed copies of the workbook to be sent to your school. If you don't have a sponsor, let us know, and we would be happy to reach out to someone in a financial institution in your area and see if they're interested in sponsoring your students. Julie's saying the Banzai resources are fabulous. I've used them with my student. Oh, thanks, Julie. That's so great. I just wanted to remind you that you earn free professional development credit for attending today's webinar. You'll get a follow-up email in the next day or so. Just click on the link, answer a few questions, and you should automatically get this certificate. Looks very similar to this one. And I wanted to invite you to our November live webinar. It's going to be on Wednesday, November 12th at 4 p.m. I'm going to be hosting that one. It's on From High School to Higher Ed, 5 Financial Skills You Need for College Life. So November is college prep month, and we thought it would be a good time to go over some of our financial literacy skills that also translate into, that first post-adult life. So if you need a walkthrough, like I just mentioned, or you want to sign up for a demo, we have these 2 QR codes as well. The one on the right is to sign up for a demo with a teacher support, and they'll show you how to sign up for an account and how to navigate it. They are so awesome. And please follow us on social media. We have teacher giveaways and contests and different things that we're doing all the time. And we would love to have you follow us on one of these platforms. We're at Teach Banzai on most of these. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful Tuesday.